Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the confusing world of corporate filings and pull back the curtain, see if we are just looking at a shiny presentation, or if there is something more substantial behind it. Today we have a filing from Lipocine Inc, and it looks like they are updating their corporate presentation, which usually means they are trying to get investors excited about what they are doing. So let's see what that presentation is all about. Before we dive in, if you like getting straight to the point insights from these reports, make sure you are subscribed. We have a great Discord community linked in the description below where we talk about these filings and so much more. Alright, so we are looking at a document from Lipocine Inc. It is an 8K filing, which is a report of a significant event that the company needs to disclose to the public fast. In this case, it seems like the main point is that they have updated their corporate presentation. This is the kind of report that you look at to see what the company is trying to communicate to investors and analysts right now. Think of it like a company's highlight reel updated for the current moment. This section is where they tell us about the main event. It confirms that the company has updated its corporate presentation. This is the material that they are using when they meet with investors, people who study the company, and other important folks. The presentation itself is filed as an exhibit with this report, meaning it is attached to this official filing for everyone to see. So, the actual updated corporate presentation is Exhibit 99.1. This is where we would typically find the glossy slides, the key messages, and the updated data that Lipocine wants to emphasize. While we are not going to go through the entire presentation slide by slide here, understanding that this is the core of the filing is important. Companies use these presentations to paint a picture of their progress, their future plans, and their financial health. They are crafted to be persuasive and often highlight the most positive aspects of the business. This part of the filing just lists the exhibits that are included. Exhibit 99.1 is the corporate presentation, and Exhibit 104 is the cover page data file, which is usually just for electronic filing purposes. The really interesting part for us is what is in that Exhibit 99.1. Now, usually when a company files an 8K, especially one involving a corporate presentation, we'd be looking for any bombshell news, maybe a major deal, a big leadership change, or some critical financial update within the body of the filing itself. However, this particular filing is more of a notification that a presentation exists. The real juicy details, the numbers and the strategies that Lipocine wants to highlight to the investment community are contained within that separate presentation document. Think about it this way, this 8K filing is like the table of contents for what the company is currently focusing on. The corporate presentation is the actual book, since we are focused on decoding the filings and understanding the story behind the numbers and the strategy. We need to infer what might be in that presentation based on this notification. Companies typically update their presentations when there is something new and important to share. This could be progress on clinical trials if they are a biotech company, new product development, positive sales trends, or updated financial projections. Lipocine Incorporated is in the pharmaceutical space, so it is highly likely that their updated presentation focuses on their pipeline progress with any drugs they are developing, regulatory updates, and potential market opportunities. They would be presenting data that demonstrates the value and potential of their scientific research and product candidates. When a company presents to investors, they are trying to achieve a few key things. First, they want to clearly articulate their business model and their competitive advantages. Second, they want to showcase their growth prospects and why they are a good investment. This often involves presenting data and sometimes projections that highlight potential future returns. They might be talking about market size, unmet medical needs that their products address, and the financial projections tied to successful product launches. The fact that they are updating this presentation suggests they are actively engaging with the market, perhaps looking for funding or trying to bolster investor confidence. It is a proactive move in the absence of a detailed financial table directly in this 8K. We have to assume the presentation contains the highlights they want us to see. If they are a company focused on drug development, you would expect to see data points related to the efficacy and safety of their drug candidates, the progress of their drugs through the various stages of clinical trials, from early phase to late phase studies, any upcoming regulatory milestones or submissions, the market potential for their drugs, including the size of the patient population and the competitive landscape, and of course they would be reiterating their financial strategy and how they plan to fund their operations and growth. So, while this filing itself doesn't contain the granular financial statements, it points us directly to where the company is putting its narrative focus. The presentation is their curated message to the world about their current standing and their future. For investors, the key is to then access and analyze that presentation to understand the substance behind Lipocine's pitch. Looking at this from a higher level, the filing itself is straightforward. It is a notification. However, the real story is in the presentation they are showcasing. When a company is actively presenting its case, it is often because they believe they have positive developments to report. In the pharma world, this usually means good news from trials or a promising market outlook for a drug. The absence of specific numbers here means we cannot perform a deep dive into their financials as we might with a 10K or quarterly 10Q. But we can infer that the company wants to highlight its progress and potential. Their strategy likely revolves around advancing their drug pipeline through development and regulatory approval to commercialization. The success of this strategy hinges on the scientific validity of their innovations, their ability to navigate the complex regulatory environment, and their capacity to secure funding for costly clinical trials and market entry. This updated presentation is their tool to convince stakeholders that they are on the right track. The risks for a company like Lipocine are significant in the pharmaceutical sector. These include the high failure rate in drug development, the long timelines involved, intense competition from established pharmaceutical giants and other emerging companies, and the challenges of securing adequate funding. Regulatory hurdles can also cause substantial delays or outright block a drug's path to market. Therefore, when we look at any presentation from such a company, we must always consider these inherent risks alongside the potential rewards they showcase. In conclusion, this 8K filing from Lipocine Inc. is essentially a signal flare. It tells us that the company has a story it wants to tell to investors right now, and that story is contained in its updated corporate presentation. While this filing itself is light on data, it directs our attention to the company's current communication strategy. For anyone interested in Lipocine, the next step is to find and dissect that presentation for the actual substance. It is a company with potential in the pharmaceutical space, but like all companies in this sector, it carries substantial risks. The key will be in the details provided in their presentation about their drug pipeline and market strategy. What do you all think about this filing and the strategy of companies updating their investor presentations? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, give us a like, it really helps the channel grow, and subscribe for more decoding of corporate documents. And don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description for more in-depth discussions. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.